Recently, many customers have requested the development of this rodeo bag. Rodeo is, at first glance, kind of complicated. Let's start by analyzing the finished bag. Before we make any bags, we must first have a structural plan in mind. Starting with the overall structure of the bag, it has a back panel. The exterior pocket is sewn onto the outer leather along a central line. Then, the back panel extends into the flap. There is also an integrated tab for attaching the handle during the front and back panels. The flap and the bottom form one large piece, similar to a Kelly bag. After attaching the handle, sewing the outer shell, the main body is completed. Next, the side panels. The side panels consist of two pieces. This essentially forms the bag piping. A semi-piping is then added over it. Then, the snap buttons are installed. It functions like a garden party bag, providing a cinching effect. After completing these steps, the interior structure is nearly identical. Essentially, we have to make the same bag twice. Then, the smaller interior bag is inserted into the larger outer shell. Now, let's discuss some challenges. The first challenge is the flap. It is not a straight edge. It is not simply a line flat. It has a slight upward curve. This curvature is achieved by creating a length difference between the exterior leather and interior leather, forcing it to curve slightly. This localized curvature is key. That's the first challenge. The second challenge is aligning the interior and exterior layers precisely. The circumference of both layers must match exactly. They must be bonded seamlessly. That's the second challenge. The third challenge, or rather, not exactly a challenge, is the selection of compatible hardware. The pull tabs provided cannot be used with metal zippers. Neither size number 3 nor number 5 will work. Only nylon zippers can be used. Otherwise, the pull tab won't function properly. Overall, this bag is well designed. After analyzing it, it doesn't seem too difficult. However, it has many components, especially the front panel, which is joined at both ends. Top and bottom are connected. The back panel section, however, is a single piece. It is not segmented. This reduces material wastage. Otherwise, too much material would be wasted. But be prepared. This bag is extremely wasteful in terms of leather usage. Extremely wasteful. Including this small strap, it's about 80 centimeters long. A key pouch holds 2 of these inside. Not very useful. Normally, this bag can be used into layers. The back layer has more space. Store important things inside, less important ones go outside. And when in use, it looks like this. The main appeal is its casual style. This bag is really popular now. So while the trend lasts, let's hurry up and make it. This is the small size. Its base length is about 25 centimeters. And there's a larger size, large 40, and then a medium. Medium is 35. The construction and hardware are the same for all sizes. Identical methods, same hardware as well. So we'll use the small size as an example. Why? Because it has less stitching, easier to make. That sums up the analysis of the finished bag. Alright, after analyzing the finished bag, let's break down its components one by one. A handle. Nothing special about this. It has a slightly raised padded effect. Padded core. Outer leather and base leather. The base leather is thicker, outer leather is thinner. Final edge thickness is around 2.5 mm. Here is the pattern. The core. Nothing much to explain. It's very simple. And here's the integrated strap tab. Make 2 pieces. Enlarge pattern. And this is the strap. Nothing special about it. Just really narrow. Now, let's look at the pattern based on this idea. This is the bag piping. There are a total of 4 piping strips. Here's one. Here's a long one. It's 48 cm. And a shorter one that ends here, about 20 mm. Then take a look. This is the exterior leather. This is the back panel, and this is the bottom panel along with the front panel. They form a single piece. And this is the side panel. Once the piping is added, it becomes a complete structure. You can think of the side panel as a whole piece. This is the shape, it's just split in the middle. Then, with the piping, it folds together. This is the side panel, one on each side. Then we can assemble the bag. After assembly, it will look like this. This is the final form. Now, we need to make an identical interior lining. Then insert it inside. We need to ensure that the perimeter matches exactly. That will be fine, of course. There's no interfacing attached yet. This is an early prototype of the bag. Next. This is the exterior leather. Similarly, this is the interior leather, the back reinforcement, flat cover, and bottom panel. Along with the front panel. The front panel is connected into parts. After joining, it forms the front panel, including the side panel, the small side panel here. This is the exterior leather. It's a single piece. For the interior leather, it is joined into sections. Together, they form the small interior side panel. As for the large side panel, it's still a single piece. Only at the front pocket, it is divided into two segments. This is how it looks. Basically, the interior and exterior are identical. However, the interior is more complex to make. First, it has more segmented pieces. Second, it includes a zipper pocket. There is also a divider inside that is clamped by the side panels. The side panel holds it in place, creating a partition. This is the structure. Essentially, we need to make this bag twice. Now our process is clear. With a clear plan, we can start assembling each component step by step. Starting from small to large, then proceed step by step from the outside to the inside. Some of these steps are quite simple, so we won't go into too much detail. For example, this is a key holder. This key pouch is made of 2 layers of leather with a bundled leather lining. We've made this Hermes style key pouch many times before, so I won't go over it in detail again. The extended tab is the same. It consists of an exterior leather, an interior leather, and a bundled leather sandwich. After bonding, trim it using the corrected pattern. Once trimmed, it will look like this. Then it can be taken for edge finishing. You'll need to make 2 pieces. One for the exterior, and one for the interior. Both are the same length, but since the exterior piece holds hardware, it creates a bulge, making it appear shorter. That's how it works. It just looks shorter, but in reality, they are the same length. Now, onto the bag piping. There are 4 pieces. 2 shorter ones are already done. 2 longer ones remain. There is not much to explain about the piping. It's 1.5 mm thick, 55 mm. A 15 mm wide leather strip wrapped around a 1.5 mm PVC piping cord. Now, for the reinforcement material, the large leather fiber is used for the flap. It serves as a support piece. You can see the imprint here. This part is quite stiff. Okay. Next, we have the side panels. These include the exterior leather and interior leather. There's also the thickened outer pocket. Not much to explain here either. Just 2 layers of leather. It is relatively soft. For the top edge, add a small piece of bonded leather to reinforce it. For the handle, make a raised version. And for the strap, it's an 80 cm leather strap. 80 cm long, 5 mm wide. If you have a strap cutting machine, this is super easy. If not, cut a 5 mm wide leather strip manually. 80 cm long is quite a challenge. And this bag has a lot of hardware. 2 key rings, then 4-in-1 snap buttons. These are D rings for bag fit These bag feet have a rather unique shape. 2 swivel hooks, since it has a shoulder strap. And the lock frame. 2 locks on the exterior. This is a round lock. The exterior has a round lock. The middle compartment has a square lock. 1 lock frame. And this D-ring is a double D-ring. It is adjustable. 4 fasteners, a total of 8. 4 pairs, 8 in total. Okay, I haven't made the shoulder strap yet because that's even simpler. If you can make a belt, you can make a shoulder strap. That's all the hardware. We'll take a group photo of them later. Now let's start making them one by one. Starting with the handle. We've applied the glue. Let's make the small strap first since it's simpler. The bonded leather and leather already layered. We just need to add one more layer. First, cut it roughly, then refine it. Set it aside and prepare for edge painting later. The same goes for the lock tab. 2 layers of leather with bonded leather in between. Pattern. Alright, we'll use the pattern to cut and refine it. Next is the handle. The thick leather here is the base leather. I forgot to mention, we need to add a layer of talon or bonded leather. Otherwise, the handle won't have any anti-stretch reinforcement, since large leather fiber is not very effective at preventing stretch. So we'll add a 0.4 mm or 0.3 mm talon or bonded leather layer on the base leather. Then use the pattern to precisely trim the base leather. After refining, we'll attach the large leather fiber, then the oversized exterior leather. Then flip it over and use the refined base leather as a guide to trim the exterior leather. We've made this padded structure many times. It's just longer this time, that's all. So we won't spend too much time filming this. It's long, so handling it takes a minute or 2. Now we'll attach the bag piping. Speaking of bag piping, we commonly use the types. One is solid leather piping, which is made by compressing leather paste from vegetable tanned leather. Then there's PVC, then gelatin, which is silicone tubing, and cotton core. Typically, for making bags like this, I use PVC the most because this has much better stiffness than silicone. Silicone piping, on the other hand, is very soft. This one here is made of silicone. It has no structure at all. Very soft. And this one here is made of PVC. It holds its shape much better. This bag needs a few support structures. So once again, I'm choosing PVC. Leather cords and cotton ropes are not suitable for this bag. There's not much to say about the bag piping. And then, about this. PVC is usually shipped in rolls. So when you unwrap it, it might be a bit curved, quite bent. To fix that, you can use a heat gun or hair dryer set to the highest temperature. Plug it in, turn it on, keep the nozzle facing outward. The nozzle gets very hot, do not touch it. Straighten the bent area by pulling it through the heat, pass it through the nozzle. After one pass, it will straighten out. This is a method for fixing severely curved PVC. Alright, let's put the heat gun away. Now, let's continue wrapping the small piping. I will do this quickly. When wrapping the piping, remember, since the piping curves inward, we need to bend it here. But the bend is not too sharp. It's a gradual curve, so we need to thin out the piping slightly. Use a craft knife to shave off a bit in the middle. Just remove about half. Now, when you wrap it, it bends much more easily, and the color comes out smoothly, very natural. Normally, when making inside piping, you fold the section inward, but for this one, there's no need. Just wrap it directly against the edge. Hold it centered and tight. Once centered and secured, wrap it from start to finish. That's it. We've done this many times before. No need to show the full process again. Let's skip the boring parts. Okay, this is the base leather. Everything here has been adjusted. After making the necessary adjustments, we can take the right side. Oh, and there's a small circle here that marks the starting point for attaching the hardware. This needs to be mentioned. Nothing else to note. When sewing the interior leather, you can ignore this small circle. Just sew it flat, and that's it. Alright, that's covered. The back piping has also been attached. After attaching one side, leave the other side open. Now, let's talk about the handle. After gluing the base leather with Talon, thin the edges slightly. Then align the padded core. Draw a guideline and attach it. After attaching it, trim the exterior leather. Then use the refined base leather to adjust the exterior leather. This brand's craftsmanship is relatively rough, but after edge finishing, it bends over easily. Their method is simple: trim, edge finish. So, then thin this part and bend it over, then sew along the edge, and it's done. If it were her, they would do it this way. Wrap it around and press it down. This is their technique. This method is simpler. ROV uses this technique too. It's very easy. Okay, let's refine it. Yi, 1T, hand, stitch this. I'll machine stitch it quickly. After stitching, I'll edge finish it. These small pieces need edge finishing in advance. And the long strap too. Guys, I won't be making the long strap. Because there's really nothing to teach about it. It's too simple to film. Alright, these small parts, trim it and edge finish. Same here. I use the sewing machine to stitch them quickly. And that I said, for trial sample, speed is the key. After finishing the back piping, we move on to the side panels. Here's the side panel layout. Two parts. This is the exterior leather. They form a side panel structure. All these parts belong to the side panel. The process is fairly simple. I've finished the larger one. For the smaller one, here's how the large one looks. The smaller one is made the same way. This is an inset flap. Align small leather fiber centrally on the side panel. Like this. Reduce the top slightly, so the edge finishing is smoother. It makes edge finishing easier. Then fold the sides in. Once that's done, we install the snap fastener. After attaching it, use a 3M and punch. After punching, use the snap fastener setter. This snap fastener is model 201. It's not 633, 655, or 831. It has model 201. So, use a 201 setter. This is the base for model 201. Don't use this side for setting. Place one on top. Thread it through. Position it in the middle. Then place the punch vertically in the center. This is quite straightforward, then just one hit, and it's done. This table is a bit hollow, so I'll temporarily hammer it first, then I'll move it to the marble slab to secure it. The 201 male and female parts use the same punch tool. Alright, the snap button is done. This set of punch tools includes 633, 655, or 831 and 201. It's decent for temporary use. It's cheap and does not take up space. It includes everything for frequent use. I prefer using this tool to press the snap button properly. It presses the ring tightly, making the closure more rounded. If you hammer it manually, it's easy to hit it off center, skewed, or even cracked. That can happen. So using this tool is a better option. So if you do mass production, getting a press machine is necessary. But for the punch tools, buy the machine compatible type. It depends on your budget. Choose based on your needs. Now that both are done, we can start wrapping the piping. This piping is quite easy to wrap. Cut a notch here. Position it 1.5 cm from the top edge. Align it properly. Wrap it all the way around until the other side, stopping 1.5 cm from the top. When wrapping piping, bend it slightly and start pasting. That's it. Apply some glue. Once the glue is applied, we can start wrapping. Remember to trim it like this. Makes it easier to bend. Then apply more glue here. Once the piping is wrapped, apply glue when needed. At this point, it should go on the side. Then align the straight edges. Match the top edge. Stick it down first, then bend this part over. And keep sticking it down. When attaching it here, don't just stick it down directly. Instead, bend this straight edge over. This is how you attach it, not like this. Attach it this way, and once it's done it's best to stitch a line here first. A temporary stitch, just to hold it in place, otherwise the glue might come apart later. So I'll just use a machine to stitch it quickly. You can do it by hand. We've already covered how to punch and sew the piping, so I won't repeat that here. Now I'll just sew this quickly. This part is done. Just a few stitches to hold it, since it won't be visible in the end, so there's no need to stress over hand stitching or machine stitching here. Either method works. Now, let's trim this small corner with a knife. Then open it up and wrap this half of the piping over. Then do the same for the shoulder piping. After applying glue, start attaching it from 1.5 centimeters from the edge. Once it reaches here, just bend it over. Make sure the two pipings are offset. Don't stack them directly, offset them slightly. And towards this end, taper gradually. We'll trim off any excess later. This is the final look. Now both side panels are done. Don't mix them up, they should be mirrored. For asymmetrical pieces like this, make sure you don't attach both sides on the same panel. That would be incorrect. They must be positioned like this. And once the stitching is done, you can trim off the little pads. Don't remove them before stitching. That's it. Also, make sure to cut a slight angle at the opening. Okay. The side panels are done. Now let's talk about the interior leather of the side panels. Earlier, we mentioned that this interior panel is made in two sections. If you don't want to sew the seam, this edge needs to be painted and stitched down in one go. Once stitched, it will have the same shape. If you don't want to divide it into two pieces, you can just cut one whole piece. Make it the same size as the exterior leather. It depends on your preference. For a more authentic look, split it into two sections. If you want to save time, just cut one whole piece. For the exterior side panel, it shares the same pattern as the exterior leather. I'll piece this one together. This part can be one whole piece. 1T edge paint this. I will just machine stitch it. Once the top and bottom sections are stitched, set it aside. Don't assemble them yet, because we need to insert a middle divider between them. This is the interior leather for the side panel. Now, let's move on to the bottom panel and the back exterior pocket. This part is quite simple. For the back pocket, start by trimming a leather piece. This leather is very thin, only about 0.6 mm. Next, get a piece of bonded leather. We'll reinforce it. I'll provide a separate pattern for this bonded leather later. For now, I will just trace it. I won't draw a new one. When attaching the bonded leather, don't apply glue all over. Just apply a bit along the edges. Same on the side. Also, the bonded leather doesn't go all the way to the edge. It's slightly recessed inside. So, a little roughness here is fine. Both the exterior and interior leather 0.6 mm. So I won't be thinning the exterior leather, but the interior leather definitely needs to be thinned. Otherwise, for this bag, the back panel will have too many layers. Now, use a utility knife to trim the edges slightly thinner. Just shave off the bonded leather, and that's it. Now, for the interior leather, these three edges need to be thinned. Ideally, taper them down to 0 thickness. That way, we minimize unnecessary bulk. I'll go ahead and thin it now. After thinning, apply glue around the edges. Don't apply glue to the whole piece, just apply it around the edges. Since the leather is thin, I keep the pattern attached. This helps maintain accuracy during the process. This is the edge I trimmed. You can see I've even shaved into some areas, but that's okay. No problem. Just align it properly. Then press it into place. To adjust and refine the edges, after refining, apply edge paint and punch stitching holes. Sew the top edge separately, and this line here. There is another seam. Later, we'll sew it together with the exterior. Now, for the back panel pocket, just a quick assembly. For the top edge, I applied a random color of edge paint. I didn't even use a creaser. We're just quickly testing the structure. Mark the seam line for the back exterior pocket. Didn't punch holes, because I will be using a sewing machine. Now, this is the bottom panel. For the bottom panel, we just need to trim both sides, only the top and bottom edges. Since both sides will go through an 801 splitter, we need to trim them accordingly. Alright, both the leather and lining need to be split at 801. After splitting, apply glue thoroughly. Then attach them together. Just press them together. Once the glue is applied, just stick it in place. I'm only using one strip of double-sided tape because I still need to punch stitching holes, so just one strip is fine. If you're punching stitching holes, it's best to use at least the strips, otherwise the alignment may shift. Now let's punch this for holes. Then remove the pattern. Now find the full hardware fit. There are too many here. Attach the hardware fit with screws. Now install the fit and edge paint the two long strips. Once the screws are tightened, use a cotton pad. Cover the screw backs. Now, let's move on to the exterior leather for the front and back panels. The thickness here is 1.5 mm with small leather fiber. These three edges need to be thinned. Do not thin the flap. Same here, these three edges need thinning. Now, for the front exterior panel. I split it to 1.5 mm and thin these three edges. As for this piece, it's 0.8 mm, and I've skived all around. The edges are almost down to zero thickness, almost zero. Then align them properly, stick them together. Alright, after stacking the leather properly, place the pattern on top, start trimming. There is not much space left for the enlarged pattern. No problem, everything is fine. The same process applies to the back panel and flap. The pieces are oversized when attached, then we trim them to the correct shape. The flap's leather edge is also skived all around. The exterior leather is skived into a U shape. Only these three edges of the exterior leather need skiving. Now, let's refine the shape. The front panel is done, trimmed and ready. Now, let's punch the holes. Both sides must be punched. Hardware is attached last. Hardware is only installed after the bag is fully assembled, so there's no rush to install the hardware. But the holes must be punched. Yes, use a full 0.5 mm round punch. Same for this part. Mark the placement, punch holes. I'm preparing for machine stitching, so I won't be punching the holes, but for the two handle attachments, these two parts will be hand stitched. The middle section can be machine joined. Alright, let's set the front panel aside. Now, let's stitch the seam on the back panel. Mark the stitching line. First, stitch the middle section. After that, curve it into shape. Then stitch the remaining section. This part is stitched. Stitch up to both ends and go down. No, not both ends. Stop stitching at this point. Then insert this small metal tube in the middle and stitch it in place. After stitching, it should look like this. Don't assume you can stitch it first and insert the tube later. It will be too tight to fit in, so it's best to insert it first. Then, insert it while stitching. Alright, these two. Small pointed ends are stitched. Now apply glue. Attach the reinforcement piece. I haven't peeled off the reinforcement yet. If I remove it now, this section will be too soft. It may lose its shape, so I'll apply the glue first. After sticking it on, tear off the pattern. Don't apply glue all over. If you apply too much glue, it won't look good. Just press it on like this. Then peel off the pattern. Now the two small corners of the flap are visible. Now we need to align and attach this piece we made earlier. Align it properly for attachment. I forgot to trim these two sides, but it's okay. Align the bottom edge, then stitch the middle line. Now attach this side. When attaching this side, curve it slightly. Alright, the middle line is stitched. Make sure to curve the edges. Press it against the table edge, then bend it downwards. If you don't curve it and just lay it flat, when you turn the bag inside out, this part will wrinkle. It will sink in. Okay, now trim any excess on the back panel. Alright, the back panel is finished. Now that the back panel is done, there are guidelines here. So along the marked distance from the edge, press it down and stitch. This straight line is stitched. Now stitch along the curved edge of the front panel. This is just like the Kelly bag. The front panel bottom, the back panel, and the flap form a whole piece. Now, apply edge paint on the side panels. Oops, I may not apply glue. Apply glue on both sides. Align the center point to the bottom. Now we can attach the side panels. When attaching, bend the excess piping inward. Align with the bottom edge. Bend this side over as well. Let it dry before wiping. Align both ends and the center point. Distribute any excess evenly to the corners. Now we can start stitching. Use an auto puncher and stitch one at a time. the side panels are stitched. Don't think of them as two separate pieces. Think of them as one whole piece. That way, it won't feel overwhelming when working on it. Don't overthink it. After stitching, trim off the excess. Also, cut a 45-degree angle at the top opening, but be careful not to cut into the stitches. This way, when attaching the exterior leather later, there will be a height difference here. And trim these parts flat as well. Do not leave sharp points. Sharp edges could poke someone or damage the bag. After finishing this, I can turn the entire bag inside out. This bag is very easy to turn because the opening is large. A small base and a large opening make it easy to flip. Now, the exterior bag is completely flipped. After flipping, this is what one side looks like. And this is the other side. Once the exterior bag is done, we set it aside. Now, let's work on the interior lining. As mentioned before, the construction is almost identical. The only difference is that the side does not need piping. That's the first point. The second point, this part here has a middle divider. Alright, now let's make the interior pocket. Set this aside for now. This is the side panel for the interior. And this is the small trim piece for the interior. This is just a decorative strip. It doesn't have much function. This is the pattern for the interior lining. The front panel is also joined at the top and bottom, then stitched into one piece. If you don't want to stitch the seam, you can simply tape the pattern pieces together and cut it as a single piece. This is the back panel with the flap and bottom. Join them together. This is the middle divider. This is not the backside pocket. The divider has holes for hardware. And here's the side panel. Same as before. Once the steps are clear, we can assemble it step by step. Start by joining these two pieces. Then assemble the back panel. The flap has a zip pocket. I would make this hidden zip pocket this time, because I don't have a black nylon zipper right now. A metal zipper could work, but it wouldn't be compatible with the brand new hardware. Alright, let's proceed step by step. Start with this piece. This is the front panel. This is the interior leather of the front panel. So I have both edges. That's it. Edge cut this side in advance, then join the top and bottom. I've already marked this section. Now stitch it together, forming the interior leather of the front panel. This part needs slaving all around. This is the interior leather. This is the middle divider. So I have three sides. Sandwich a bonded leather shape between two layers. This is fully glued, fully attached. Full glue, fully attached. Then, just make some adjustments. After adjusting, stitch and edge paint this top part. Then install the hardware. Alright, the front panel is now assembled. This is quite straightforward. Guys, I won't go over this again. And this part as well. Edge paint the top, then stitch. Now, install the hardware. Just screw it in, and it's done. Now the hardware is installed. This is quite easy to understand. The thickness must be 3.0 mm. Otherwise, the hardware won't hold securely, because the hardware has a lag, and it has 3.0 毫米height. Also, these screws are hex screws. Hex screws. With this, we are done with this part. Next step, normally, we should work on the back panel. Stitch the decorative leather strip. After stitching, at the interior zipper. Make the zipper pocket. This process has been covered many times. I don't have the right color nylon zipper right now, so I won't demonstrate this part. No demonstration. We've made zipper pockets many times before. Now, I'll stitch this part. Here's the back interior leather. And this part is done. Don't worry about the bottom stitch, just set it aside for now. For the back panel divider, do it this way. Attach one on each side. Align with the top edge, then attach it. One side is curved, one side is straight. Attach the straight side here. Then stitch from top to bottom, all the way down. Then do the same here. Oh, same here. Alright, as mentioned earlier, first attach the side panel here. Don't worry about the extra part at the bottom for now. No need to stress. Yeah, don't panic. Then align and attach the bottom panel. Just like this, attach it. After attaching, stitch along this line, then stitch along this line. Alright, the small decorative strip is sewn. Now we can set it aside. And these three sides are now stitched. After stitching, now we need to stitch the bottom part here. This is a standard H-shaped structure, so I will modify the pattern later. Just make the bottom edge flush. Then, after making it flush, we can follow the standard H-structure process. First, sew the side and bottom panels. Then attach the U-shaped frame on the divider. Stitch these three sides together. If you're not familiar with the H-structure, check out Constance's video. Now here, you will proceed quickly. Find your flat surface. Mark the reference points. Then trim off the excess. Now I'll stitch these two lines. Ignore the excess edges for now, I'll even them out later. Alright, both sides are stitched. After stitching, we'll open it up. This part really resembles Constance's work. Constance 19's design. Now align the front leather. Align it with the top edge. Attach it properly. Just cut straight down. After attaching, align and flatten the bottom edge. Now we need to stitch this line. Whoops, I haven't applied glue here. Alright, now let's stitch these three sides. This is the front panel. After sewing these three edges, we open it up again. Just like when making the gypsy bag or the Constance bag, it's the same process. Yeah, it has the H-bottom structure. Now we'll attach the back panel. Align it and attach it properly. Finally, attach the bottom. After attaching, stitch these three sides. This forms the inner pocket. This stitching is done. After stitching, it forms a pocket, right? Now, let's trim these corners. Just slightly trim the corners, but not too much. Especially don't cut into the stitching line. Just trim slightly. Now apply glue along the edges, including this edge. After applying glue, insert the entire bag inside. Then attach it properly. After applying glue all around both the interior and exterior, just insert it in place. When attaching, start with the flap, because the flap has a reverse curve attachment. First, align these two notches. Hung. Make sure this part is aligned, otherwise, later on, edge finishing will be a headache. Then continue attaching upwards. When attaching upwards, be mindful. Don't attach it in reverse. Reversing it would result in an incorrect curve attachment. It should be slightly curved, because the interior leather is slightly larger, so be sure not to get it wrong. Once you reach the handle area, open it up, then guide it with a curve. Then another curve section. When you reach this part, right at the flap area, you need to lift both corners slightly. Now, the flap side is done. Once done, later we will trim the excess interior leather. Then attach the front side. Now for the front attachment. The rest of the bag structure is relatively easy to explain, but when doing these curved attachments, especially when inserting the interior, the long perimeter makes it tricky. If not done well, the interior and exterior won't match perfectly. When attaching here, this part requires extra caution. Align it properly. If not aligned, both stitching and edge finishing later will be very difficult. Don't leave too many mistakes for yourself to fix later, otherwise, you'll be making things hard for yourself. Make sure it's well attached. After securing this part, we move to the side panel. Trim off the corner. When attaching this section, curve it slightly inwards, because the clasp will fold this way. Alright, the whole attachment is done. After finishing, we need to use pliers to clamp the entire opening. Otherwise, it's still in a temporary attachment stage. This section lacks enough reverse curve shaping. It needs a stronger curve. You need to lift it up. Then shape it accordingly. Once done, the bag corners will naturally curve outward. After clamping, we will stitch along this edge. Once stitched, we can proceed with edge finishing. After edge finishing, we install the hardware, and it's done. Alright, at this point, we're basically finished. The final step is hardware installation. There's not much to say about the hardware, just like before, tighten the hex screws and you're done. Now, let's mainly talk about the hardware. This is the hook buckle for the shoulder strap. No need to explain the strap here. It's very easy to make. Let me show you the finished shoulder strap from before. And this is the hardware for the front panel. There's not much to say about this front panel hardware either. Just align the hex screws and screw them in. And this is the D-ring. Let's talk about this one first. This is essentially an oversized square rivet. It's a type of double rivet design. After aligning it tightly, place a piece of leather underneath and hammer it down. There's a large piece and a small piece, one big, one small. Place the larger piece at the back and the smaller one at the front. Once they are aligned, place them on the table. Then place a piece of leather underneath, hammer it down. Make sure to place a piece of leather underneath. I will use a piece of cardboard instead. And that's it. It's really easy to install. No special tools required. And for this hardware, just screw it in from the back. Once the front panel hardware is installed, the last step is attaching the handle. Now, how do we thread this hardware? Start with the smaller piece. There's a large and a small one. Thread the smaller one through first, then place the larger one here. Next, use this. This is an extra long screw. Thread it through from this side. Then pass it through like this. Screw it in on this side. This is also a hex screw. Another hex screw here. And that's it. This ring is for attaching the shoulder strap. Repeat the same process for the other side, and that completes the main body of the bag. This is just a prototype, a quick version, so the leather quality isn't great, and I didn't finish the edge paint properly. But it doesn't affect how we demonstrate the process, and it doesn't impact the accuracy of the pattern testing. Now, here. Let's fasten it. Finally, fasten it like this, or use this buckle. The two corners should align, like this. Make sure to press the front panel down. Okay, and that's it. Now, I'll go adjust. The side panel interior pattern, everything else is fine. Let me know if you run into any issues while making this. The overall difficulty of this bag is okay, but making it will take effort. Why? Because it requires a lot of work, especially when attaching the piping. Edge painting and stitching take time, and the leather is quite soft, so good craftsmanship is necessary if your skills aren't solid yet. I wouldn't recommend trying this bag. Be sure to press down like this. Press it in the shape like this, and then it's set. At this point, I made this. This is an 80 cm long leather cord. Then, make a cut here, just like the Hermpi lanyard. A key lanyard style, thread it through, and that's it. Tie a knot in the middle and tuck it through. And finally, about the shoulder strap, just fold it over and stick it together. It's very simple to do. Okay. Alright, I wish you all success with your project.